We're going to be talking with a very interesting man, someone who was co-founder of Comcast Corporation, who caught on to cable in the very beginning and saw his company grow into a world giant. And he's also for 12 years had Parkinson's, but that hasn't stopped him. I'm talking about Dan Aron, co-founder of Comcast Corp. And we'll also be talking with Dr. Howard Hertig. He's director of Graduate Hospital Parkinson's Movement and Disorders Center. Dan, you are a legend in the field.
Well, thank you very much.
You started with Ralph Roberts and Mr. Brodsky.
Right.
There were the three of you, but the idea of how you actually started was so long ago. Well, you tell the story because you weren't born here. You came here when you were 11, and what were the circumstances?
I came here in 1937, having been born in Germany, brought up in Germany. My family and my brother and I left the country in 37, just before the borders were closed to Jewish immigration. And we've lived in Philadelphia ever since.
But 2 years after you came to our country, you lost your parents.
Our parents died.
And that the two boys, you and your brother, were put in foster homes.
That's right. And it was in retrospect, it was an interesting experience for all of us.
Well, what happened was that you earned money on the side, you served at the campus council, you did all kinds of things, and you got yourself into college. You went to Temple.
Right.
And then you got a master's in Penn. I'm saying this because I don't think you're going to tell it about yourself.
Well, I'm glad you're here to do it for me.
All right, but then we come to the newspaper, the Bulletin.
Well, I worked on
the Evening Bulletin.
The Philadelphia Bulletin, the newspaper that nearly everybody in Philadelphia read. Remember those ads?
We did.
And I started out as a copy boy. I graduated from Penn with a master's in economics, and the only job I could find was a copy boy in the Philadelphia Bulletin. And I took it because I wanted to be a reporter someday.
And it didn't take long for you to get to be a reporter.
Within 3 years I was a reporter, and I loved every minute of it. It was great training for everything I've done since then.
I want you to know I have read about you, so I am extremely familiar with the story. And I find it very exciting. And then one day you're looking at the AP wire service, and something catches your eye.
I had an assignment in those days to do a Sunday story every Sunday on the Philadelphia Company. And I was running out of stories. And I'm standing desperately at the AP ticker waiting for something to move that might catch my eye. And I saw a story move that indicated that a Philadelphia businessman had just won a referendum, an election campaign in Dubuque, Iowa. And there was a larger turnout for that election than there had been at the previous presidential election. And that sounded fascinating. And I went over to the company that this businessman headed, and it turned out his name was Milton Schaap, the governor-to-be of Pennsylvania. The company was Gerald, and he had applied for a franchise to install a cable system in Dubuque. And
that was how many years ago?
Oh gosh, that's longer than I remember. That was back in the early 50s.
But you liked the idea. You thought it had merit.
I loved the idea. I thought it had a future. And he had an exciting company, all young people, all excited about starting a new industry, and I thought, gee, this is where I'd love to be. And 3 months later, Milt offered me a job.
That was the beginning, and you rose through the ranks. You stayed there about 6-7 years or whatever.
Right.
And then Ralph Roberts.
Then I decided it was time to go out on my own. And I met Ralph Roberts, who was a neighbor in Elkins Park, and a very enterprising young man in those days, as he still is. Young and enterprising both. And we started by buying a cable system in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Isn't that where Elvis was born?
Elvis.
And you.
Elvis, the TVA, and Comcast all got our start there.
And me.
You were born in Tupelo?
No, I was born in Mississippi, though. And it's interesting now as I look back how Dan and I have certain path crossings related to Mississippi. I'll mention another one in a minute.
Well, that was the beginning of what turned out to be a remarkable success story, and I must jump to the present because just a bit ago there were perhaps several hundred people at the Ritz-Carlton in Philadelphia, and they came from all over the industry. Ted Turner, everybody who was anybody in cable, and they were honoring you. You were retiring from Comcast Corporation at 65, and the important thing was that you were going to continue and throw all your efforts into helping those with Parkinson's. How long have you had Parkinson's disease?
My disease, Doria, was diagnosed about 12 years ago. I've been very fortunate. The progress of the disease has been slow.
Doctor, would you describe for our viewers Parkinson's and what it does?
It's an interesting disease because it's marked mainly by its variability. It's basically a disorder of the brain. There are certain cells in the brain that seem to die off or deteriorate selectively compared to all of the millions of other cells. And these cells, as it turns out, are those that manufacture a chemical called dopamine, which is necessary for normal voluntary movement and for maintaining normal posture and other kinds of motor activity.
This is obviously doesn't affect the mind or the thinking.
Generally not.
Generally not. Well, it certainly hasn't with you.
Thank you.
But generally it doesn't. Generally it is motor.
Generally
motion.
It's a disorder of motion.
And there could be spasticity, there could be a lack of ability to control motion of hands, body, feet.
Well, I'm
Would
an experienced spectator on the disease. Dan has it and knows more about it than I do in that regard.
Yeah, but you're a neurologist.
As a neurologist, I see lots of people with Parkinson's disease, and I only know the disease in relation to what they tell me, the way it affects people. But by and large, it does slow people down. Slowing of everything is sort of the hallmark of the disease. People tell me that it takes a lot longer to get dressed in the morning, a lot longer to get out of a chair when they want to, or to do anything that requires action. And it also, because there's so much effort involved in doing these, carrying out these movements, that people get tired easily. So fatigue is another important symptom.
I was interested in the fact that these giants in the cable industry raised $400,000 to kick off the Dan Aaron Parkinson's disease, and I think it's called a foundation.
Right.
The foundation, and the purpose of this foundation
is to get involved, examine and become involved in any project that promises to increase the quality of life.
I find that
Parkinson's
very
patients.
interesting. You're not talking cure. You're not talking money specifically for just research. Because as of now, Dr. Correct, there is no cure.
Correct.
There are medicines. You said dopamine. Is that L-Dopa, for instance?
L-Dopa is a replacement therapy.
After a while, though, that loses its efficacy, doesn't it?
Well, it tends to work in the majority of people for a long time.
For a long time, and then?
Then in some people it ceases to work. I think I would emphasize an important observation that Dan has made, and that is that some people do very well for a long time, and the rate of progression is slow. Others tend to have a faster rate. There is no way to predict how the disease will progress over time, except that there is the tendency for everyone to get worse in the long run.
But how fortunate we were, because before L-Dopa, you didn't have the ability to do as well for as long.
That's correct.
And that's not that long ago, is it?
In the late 1960s.
But here you are, and I find it amazing. How many patients are there like yours with Parkinson's, so able, so active, and in such really control?
There are probably 1 million Parkinson patients in this country. About 1% of the population over 65. It's interesting. When I first noticed a tremor in my left arm, I realized there was something wrong with me. And I went to see 5 doctors. All of them said, "Don't worry, there's nothing bothering you." And finally, when I went to the last doctor and he told me I had Parkinson's disease, he did not have enough time to tell me what it was all about. And so I went to the Logan Square Library and I looked up Parkinson's, and I found 2 books that referred to it. One was a biography of Adolf Hitler. There was a speculation that because of his slanted handwriting, he might have had Parkinson's. And the other one was an autobiography of Margaret Burke White, the famous photographer who also had Parkinson's. And with that information, I then went to Graduate Hospital. And there I had a totally different welcoming and greeting. They told me all about the disease, they had books about it, they had a special nurse who dealt with it, and they really did the kind of job that I admired so that today I'm going to use a good portion of my funds to help the Movement Disorder Center in its activities.
And Graduate Hospital has been doing this for quite some time, Doctor.
We're about to celebrate our 10th anniversary.
Wonderful. There is a tape, and I'd like to go to it because this will give hope to lots of people. This is quite remarkable. Dan, you say 12 years, and this is only a few weeks ago.
My father has always put a lot of emphasis on trying to make a change in the world, and I think this is something that he's going to leave all of us to be able to contribute to and help make a change in the way Parkinson is seen in the future.
The filmmaker did 2 takes. We had to run up and down the steps twice. And the second time around, I thought I found the cure for Parkinson's, rigor mortis.
I think it's wonderful. Actually, I know you have retired, and I questioned you earlier. You didn't retire because of the Parkinson's.
No, I felt at 65 I should retire and turn my activities into other areas.
But what I like about the foundation is that you care about setting up support groups. And particularly support groups. There's a group, for instance, minorities very seldom go to support groups, and they're not usually convenient, and they're not set up for them. And I noticed in the literature that that is one of the things that you're going to do. General support groups and also paying attention to minorities.
That's correct. Graduate Hospital, the Movement Disorder Center, has a network of support groups around this area.
And your feeling about support groups is you can't talk cure, that hasn't come yet, but by heaven, sharing it, talking about it, having guest lecturers come, all of this can be so important.
All of that is very important in helping us deal with the disease, getting out of the closet about it. Many people hide from it, discussing it with family and friends, and particularly in the workplace. Because most people are afraid that once the workplace knows that they have a disease, it will affect their career paths. And I think one of the educational processes I'd like this foundation to get involved in is assuring the workplace that a Parkinsonian can do a useful job long after he's first diagnosed with the disease.
Thank you very much, and best wishes in your retirement. It'll be a busy one, I'm sure, and thank you, Doctor. We'd like to hear from you. Won't you drop a line to Delaware Valley Forum? That's Box 7775 in Philadelphia.